This is a gigantic coil from the deep sea, tightly bound with iron chains. It is said to have been trapped on the sea surface for 100 years because it used to swallow passing humans and ships. So, the king had it bound. Afendi, unknowingly, kept laughing loudly. The king became so angry that he decided to behead Afendi. But due to the lack of a suitable reason, he couldn't do so. Therefore, the cunning king gave Afendi a chance to rectify his actions. He was sent to catch the alleged firebird in the deepest part of the desert. For this, Afendi reluctantly stepped into that area with his donkey. Afendi knew that the firebird was fond of melons. So, he threw the melons he had prepared beforehand on the sand. After a while, a red light suddenly shone from under the sand. Then, it burst out from under the earth. Upon closer inspection, it was not an ordinary firebird but a fire phoenix that had been meditating for millions of years and had just awakened. As soon as it emerged, the phoenix revealed its immense power and leaped into the sky in a moment, reaching a height of 10,000 meters. As soon as the fire phoenix appeared on the ground, it became excited. Then, it picked up a melon with its long, beautiful talons, threw it into the air, and then gently leaped and caught it precisely in its mouth. Finally, it devoured the fruit, peel and all. It was clear that this was its favorite food. As the fire phoenix ate more, its entire body became soft and weak, as if it had drunk fake alcohol. It couldn't even stand properly. Soon, it fell completely unconscious and slept. Afendi thought of capturing it and taking it to the king. But who would have thought that the phoenix would beg him to let it go, showing him the ring. And then it even shed tears. The man stroked the phoenix's head. He was filled with compassion and opened the iron net that bound it. After being freed, the fire phoenix was reborn, as if it had attained nirvana. It looked at the man with grateful eyes and then flapped its wings and flew towards the sky. Before leaving, the phoenix left a burning feather as a token of its gratitude, which could protect the man in times of trouble. But since Afendi couldn't capture the phoenix and bring it back, the king put him in a dungeon for punishment. Afendi tried hard to pull out that feather to prove his innocence, but he couldn't. At that moment, the phoenix's feather suddenly turned into a rooster's feather, and all the mourners burst into laughter. The king thought that Afendi had fooled him and immediately decided to sentence him to death. But as soon as the soldier raised the axe, the feather suddenly caught fire. A shadow suddenly appeared in the sky, which was the phoenix, who had sensed that Afendi was in danger and arrived in time. Its spreading fire, like a sun, illuminated the entire town in a moment. Everyone admitted that Afendi had not lied and called him a hero of the people. The king reluctantly lifted the ban on Afendi but secretly hated him. With the intention of completely eliminating him, the king ordered Afendi to awaken the ice princess sleeping on the peak of the ice mountains and bring her back as his queen. Because reaching there safely had not been possible for anyone until then, the king thought that Afendi would perish on the way. But no one knew that Afendi had a magical little horse that would help him. Very quickly, they both reached the peak of the ice mountain, and a huge frozen door suddenly appeared before them. Afendi was about to examine it when he was stopped from outside. While he was pondering, the phoenix's feather suddenly flew up and quietly entered the ice door. In the next moment, the ice door shattered, turned into water, and 4 small mounds flowed away with the current. Finally, they froze into ice balls and got stuck on the rock. At this time, Afendi's attention was drawn to the inner beauty of the royal palace, and he cautiously entered the ice palace and finally saw the beautiful ice palace described in the legend. Meanwhile, the phoenix's feather awakened the princess, and when the ice princess learned that she had to marry an old king, she became very restless. She said that she would rather die than go back with Afendi. After saying this, she dragged Afendi to the edge of the cliff and, without saying anything, jumped straight down the deep gorge. Fortunately, the little horse flapped its wings and saved her in time. The next day, Afendi successfully brought the princess back to the palace. But the princess refused to marry the king, using the excuse of her great-grandmother's ocean ring. When the king learned that the ring had been swallowed by a giant whale, he immediately assigned the task of finding the ring to Afendi. Thus, Afendi, riding the little horse, was flying over the vast ocean. Suddenly, a seabird coming from the front collided with him. When the little horse pulled Afendi back again, the man realized that the green island spread out in front of him was actually a giant whale, tightly bound with iron chains. No one knew how many years the whale had been trapped there. When Afendi saw the whale, he shed a ton of tears filled with deep sorrow. The kind-hearted Afendi decided to free the whale. He rode his mule and entered the whale's nose. The little mule gently tickled the whale's nostrils with its wing feathers, causing the whale to feel a pleasant tickle all over its body. Then, the ancient power rising from within burst out uncontrollably, and there was a terrible volcanic eruption. Breaking the thick iron chains on its body, the whale was freed and returned to the depths of the sea. As a token of gratitude for saving its life, the whale sent a golden ring to Afendi. But who would have thought that it was the ring that the king wanted him to find? But at this time, Afendi was not at all happy because if the king got this ring, the princess would have no excuse to avoid marrying him. Afendi had already started to love the princess. So, he decided to risk everything for the princess. As night fell, Effendi prepared to secretly escape with the princess. But this scene was noticed by a minister from a distance. As a result, before they could leave, the minister's soldiers captured them. The next morning, the king prepared to publicly execute Effendi. Then, he ordered the soldiers to bring 3 large iron pots. The first pot contained boiling hot water, the second contained seawater that could freeze a person in a moment, and the third contained deadly poisonous milk. Then, the cruel king gave Effendi a shove. The princess was very sad. The princess immediately took off her ring and threw it into the pot. Thus, Effendi successfully passed the first challenge. Then, he fell into the pot of very cold and freezing water. Effendi's body turned into an ice ball. At this moment, a feather fell from the sky with the phoenix's cry and entered the pot. Effendi immediately emerged alive. But when Effendi fell into the third poisonous pot, the princess was left helpless because she had no way to save Effendi from trouble. Everyone present began to think that Effendi's end had come and started to leave in despair. Then, suddenly, a white streak of light rapidly descended from the sky. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a shining dadalan flower that fell into the poisonous pot, and in a moment, Effendi was resurrected like a phoenix. In fact, this was done by the little mule, who had run to the end of the world with all its might and brought this unique flower of life. The king saw that Effendi had attained eternal life and, without waiting, jumped into the pot. But he inadvertently got trapped in a huge bubble and eventually got lost floating in the eternal cosmos. With the support of the people, Effendi became their new king, and he lived a happy and beautiful life with the princess.